Circle is spinning, and we're live.
Woo!
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now what do we do?
Well, we can talk to people. Hopefully some people show up. I'm going to try to watch party this mother. Is it allowing me to? Not really, no.
Oh, that's kind of bogus.
Well, you know what, though? I'll see if I can do it on yours, on your stream.
Okay.
How do you say your name again?
On the screen. That's like the people that write emails to me and misspell my name. My email address is my name. You put in my entire name just before you started, and then you still put ERIK.
Some people's children. Hey everybody, how you doing?
I think everybody is just me right now.
All right.
I just shared it.
I shared it too. All right.
Cool. So we're live.
We most definitely are.
And
so
nobody's watching yet, so we probably don't want to talk about anything terribly important. But
is anybody? Do you know when people are watching?
Yeah, it shows one live viewer being me from my other account, I think.
This isn't at all disappointing.
Where's everybody at?
I know, right?
No, it shows two people.
Is anybody? How do we?
Sorry. All right. Shows that we have two viewers on my personal account, so that means two people are watching.
Okay. Cool.
Welcome,
yeah, I'm starting a watch party in one of the groups that you and I are friends in together. But in the meantime, we can talk about what's going on.
So both episodes 5 and 6 dropped today. 5 dropped publicly, 6 dropped for the early birds in our Patreon account. So that's pretty exciting.
Seriously, I'm so excited. And episode 5, for those of you who are not on the Patreon, which is all 8 billion of the world's population except for 8 people.
You're welcome into our club. It's not exclusive.
Yeah, right. It's pretty damn exclusive.
Just pay $2.
But episode 5 was a big episode for us. I'm just everything kind of moving forward and really taking the story and the narrative to a whole other level. So really, and of course, with 6 coming out on Patreon, it means that now we're in that second half of the season, and we're moving towards all of the awesomeness that is going to be that season finale, which I know that we both chatted about a lot last night. Very pumped about.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like the last couple episodes, I feel like we tied up a lot of loose ends and brought a lot of things together, but then like brought also in some very big things that going forward will lead to more revelations and just a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my watch party is officially set up. Now people can chat with us.
So for the episode 6 on Patreon, we probably can't say a whole lot about that since it's not public.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe just because we'll have some people, maybe we don't want to be too heavy on spoilers anyways, because
Yeah, that's true. Especially since we probably have a lot of this is. I guess this is more to get people excited about the show rather than actually necessarily like give away stuff from the show.
Yeah, it's a
So
little different than on our Patreon account for our $2 patrons. We do an after show every other week where we talk spoilers and all that stuff. So for this right here, we can't get too heavy into that. But if anybody has any questions and can frame them in a way that isn't too spoilery, we can certainly discuss and tease some things. We're good at that.
So I guess first we should probably start by telling people what Essence House is for those few people out there who might not know.
Yeah, you do a good job of just describing it. So you want to?
Okay, so Essence House is, in its essence, a what do we call it? We called it a metaphysical sci-fi mystery audio drama. So it's got a little bit of elements of everything. Even early on, there were some people who felt like there was some thriller and horror aspects to it, which we've kind of sort of moved away from that. That's not really necessarily the idea of it, though. Some of that stuff does maybe come peeking back up.
Yeah, I feel like there's always kind of been a hint of it, and I feel like there is some things coming up that kind of fall that way. But a large part.
Hi. Hey, Kyron.
Oh, Kyron. Yeah, I think mystery is our biggest part of it. But I think another element that we can throw in there is that it is a time travel story.
Yep.
We avoided that for a while, but it's been around for a few months now. So
yeah, episode 3. That's when you get to really feel that and understand that and see where that's going. And then we pretty much take that all the way. But I like our take on time travel. It's an element that we use, but it's not the most important part of the entire show. It's more about the family and the drama and the stuff that goes on, rather than we're traveling through time. What's going on?
Right. It's not about necessarily. It's not like Back to the Future where there's the all the weirdness of time travel, and then you have to fix things, and we're going back. And I mean, like, there's no time travel story really that doesn't have some element of that, but it's not really that.
Yeah, the thing is that I think for our characters, they end up learning kind of fairly on that time isn't easily fixed. And so you can try, and I think that's something that we learn really quick. Like, we really quickly kind of smack our characters on the hands and go, yeah, that's not going to be easy. And so it becomes less about that and more about the fact that they have access to it and how that affects the family and the house and everything else. Yeah. Kyron asked, so when do Scooby-Doo and the gang pop up in the DeLorean? Dude, that's a spoiler, man. Not everybody's watched the show.
Episode 6 just dropped, Kyron. Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? Man, he's one of the patrons. So he probably listened to 6 when he was dropping the kids off this morning at Corona camp. I mean, school.
For real, not a euphemism. He actually was dropping.
Those kids can drink. But you know what? I'm going to ask you this. The funny thing is that for those of you who don't know, yes, we write and have created it together, but we like to surprise each other. So what happens is that we'll have a general idea of basically when someone takes a chapter, they say, okay, we know that this is the main thing that needs to happen, and this is where it needs to end so that I can start working on the next one. So there's a lot of times where both of us have caught each other unawares. What was the favorite time where I caught you unaware? And I'm going to answer the same question.
I think I think the most recent, like with the conversation at the pizza shop, I think that was well played, and there was some really good moments in there. But even I think when I first wrote the first episode, I largely transitioned it from when I started writing the book for NaNoWriMo, when we first started that, what, a year and a half or whatever ago now.
Yeah.
So I never got to the end of my first chapter there. And so the first episode was incomplete. And I think that the way that you took that and added the bit with the shop owner and
Yeah, that's right.
I think that was fun because I had no idea what you were doing. I just knew that you were tackling the end. So I think those two things were kind of my favorites so far.
I think it also set the pace for the two of you or the two of us to constantly try to surprise the other guy. We're like, oh, we're gonna do this. I think I have an idea. Okay, what is it? Don't worry, you'll see. And we'll just we'd go for it. I would say I'm not gonna go too far into it. I'm just gonna throw it out there. But for you, the walking stick. Not gonna talk about it, but the walking stick was not something that I knew about before it was written. And then when it happened, I was like, holy crap, this explains so much. Like, this is so good. And so I was so excited by the walking stick.
And we had a conversation maybe a day or two before I wrote that, where I kind of took the idea of the walking stick in general, off the table. And then with some of the things that I had suggested, and then as I was writing, just these ideas flooded in about the stick itself, and it just I remember I messaged you and I was like, hey, I'm writing some stuff, I have some big ideas, but I don't want to talk to you about them because they're not going to sound great. Let me just write them in here, and if you hate it, we can redo it.
And it's so true. If you had said the ideas that came along with it, I would have been like, that's dumb. But
yeah, if
writing it and reading
it would have been the same thing. I would have been like,
yeah,
no, I don't think we want to go that direction. I don't like that.
Yeah, right? But then when it all came to, it was like, oh, okay, cool. And it's funny that every time, I love it. It reminds me of when I used to be in the improv troupe, because someone would throw one little thing out there and then the other person would grab it and run with it. And it would just become bigger and better the whole time. And I think that's something that I enjoy working with you the most, is that you and I have been able to throw stuff at each other and be like, oh, sweet. Yeah, okay, I'm going to just work with that. And there's been very little, especially when we write stuff, very little no's. Once it's written out there, it's not that it's in stone, but you're able to kind of see it a little better and how it works because it's already down there. And usually it's like, actually, that's a really good idea. Okay, yeah. I can play with that. And so that's been really cool where that's concerned.
Because we've had conversations where we mapped out, the whole season, left some wiggle room and everything. And then all the big stuff is planned. But then, especially in the last few episodes, there's been big stuff that have come up while we're writing, the stick or like Jess. And that stuff just is huge. And it just came from writing between the two huge things we had planned. It's really been fun like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's been tons of fun. And like I said, there's just so many cool little things that have been thrown out there by the other guy. That's just, it's fun to see. And once it's written, it's so much easier. Kyron did ask a question. He was excited by the walking stick too. He said that was a really good one. So kudos to you, man. Speaking of Patreon, what benefits do people get for subscribing to it?
So probably the biggest thing is that you get the next episode 2 weeks early. Yeah. So this, just today, episode 5 dropped publicly to everybody. So it's on, I guess I could list to where we're at.
Oh, right.
We're at more places than this, but we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, YouTube, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, and iHeartRadio, and then our Patreon account. So all those people got episode 5 today. Patreon got episode 6. So for $2, you support our project, and it's you get both episodes each month, 2 weeks early. So that's if I was a patron, that'd be my probably favorite part. But also I think that every other week where an episode doesn't drop, me and Chuck and our good friend Jess Rogie get together on and post a video to Patreon where we discuss the previous episode with complete spoilers and a little bit of insight. Jess does a good job of gathering questions from our social media and stuff, and we give as much information as we can. There's some times where it's very little. There's some times where there's some kind of insight we can give, or some kind of behind the scenes anecdote or something. And that's a lot of fun because we're all good friends going back a little ways now. So we have a lot of fun.
It feels like forever.
Forever. So that's a lot of fun. And yeah, that's at our Patreon account at patreon.com/essencehouse. Or you can go to essencehousestory.com and learn more.
Yep.
But yeah, we only have one tier. It's just $2. We don't, and everything we do as far as the podcast itself gets posted publicly. So we're not trying to, milk people. We just
it's really about getting the story out there, getting people excited about it. I mean, all that money goes to just paying for everything.
Yeah, there's costs with the project, and
so even our goal is not at this point necessarily to actually make money off of it. It's literally just to pay for the voice actor, pay for the hosting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think those are the two benefits I can think of. I'm not sure. I mean, we're both accessible anyways, so it's not like we have special access to us, but it's a small Patreon. It's a small Patreon, and gets you a little bit extra.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's that. And I mean, honestly, I have such a blast doing the live shows. We talk about, because it's episode centric, it's tons of spoilers and having fun and people's theories and all that kind of stuff. So we get to hear about that, but I'm kind of excited to go back and listen to some of the old questions, because a lot of them we can actually answer now. We can say, yeah, well, by the way, episode 4 answered that, and episode 5 talked about that. And
you know what? This weekend, I'd like to go back through those and come up with a list maybe to talk about next week on Patreon.
Yeah. And also go over some of the theories. Because especially like in episode 1 and 2 where people have these theories and then you're like, so that was crap.
I want to say that there might have been a couple small theories that have popped up that have been close to the mark. But mostly I think all the theories have been pretty wrong, which is awesome.
Yes. There were also some that inspired us, where you hear the theory and you go, oh, I want to do something with that.
Which is funny because a lot of people could take that and be like, no, your theory is wrong, and rewrite. But yeah, there are things that pop up that we maybe didn't think about, because we were thinking down a very specific direction, and
yeah,
like, oh yeah, we didn't really think about that character and what that would be going on with them in that regard. So it's fun to listen to those. We will have to go through those. Hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. My screen on my phone has frozen, so I'm just watching the watch group, or the watch party, like everybody else, just to make sure that it's still working. And it is. Yeah. Is anyone responding on your side of things?
Let me Nothing's showing up on the interface here.
Yeah.
Let me see if anything's come up.
I think while he's doing that, the one of the more difficult aspects of doing the audio drama, because a lot of it has been really fun and it's been going really well, is kind of the marketing, getting it out there to people, because this isn't our normal audience. You know, we're used to the comic fans, and audio drama is a very different thing. So we've had to learn new skills and look into new areas of the internet that we'd never even considered checking out before. So there's just a lot of that stuff that's it's interesting and it's fun and it's neat to learn and pick up new things, but it's almost like starting comics all over again.
Yeah, it's and it's wild at how fast it goes. I mean, like, when it comes to the indie comics that we're used to, you know, somebody might be 3 or 4 years in with issue 2, like not even out yet, like, or you know, something like that. Like with this, I mean, we're basically just put out issue 6. Like, it's time-wise, it's just about as much time as it takes to read a comic is how long our episodes are. Like, so I think that, yeah, in that regard, it's pretty, it's a lot to keep up with, but it's so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyron asked a good question. He said, will the episodes be collected and sold later on Amazon or some other digital source? So we're still going through that. Do you want to talk about the book?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like, when we started this project, I mean, I had some ideas about this project some years ago. It's been one of my projects that's been sitting on the back burner, but it was never really happening. So when NaNoWriMo came up last year, I hit up Chuck about teaming up on writing a book. And actually, it was the year before last.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had hit up Chuck about writing a book together. And I think it's like that for most people with NaNoWriMo, which is the National
Novel Writing Month.
Thank you. So I think with probably a vast majority of people, you start it and then you just get busy with other things and you don't get to finish. So we started on that and we didn't get very far in. But the intention was for it to always be a book. And we decided to do the audio drama, which is let us do it episodically. So we get to write bits at a time and it keeps us moving on it. I did this before when I wrote my book Blister. I actually would go to a venue and I would read once a month. So I had to have a new story written every month to stand in front of these people and read. And it really just kept me moving, kept me motivated, which was awesome. So this kind of allows the same sort of situation. So every month, or twice a month, we're putting out a chapter, which eventually will lead to putting it together in a book form, which is pretty awesome. Like, that'll be really cool.
It'll be my first novel, so I'm really excited.
I told myself after my first book that I probably would not write a book again.
But this is such an easier way of doing it. Like, it just, you're kept so motivated, and you know, like, I mean, every like all the time, like, oh shoot, you know, we got to get this next one coming up soon, you know, and you know that knowing that you have a time limit, you have to have it done. You know, we create time limits for ourselves all the time, but this is a whole other thing. Like, people are going to be expecting it. It's supposed to be there. And so we made a promise. And so it's just, for me, it's such a cool new way to make a novel and have it happen. And at the end, be able to hold that paperback or whatever and just be like, dude, we did this. And we did it all by just shoving ourselves into this situation where it's like, you either do it or, you know, people see the mud on your face. And so I think we're enjoying it. We're both going, cool, there will be no mud in our face. We will get this done. Like, we're both, you know, I mean, of course anything could happen, but you know, we have episodes all the way up to 7 done. We have 8, 9, 10, and pretty much episode 11 or episode 1 of I Love You. Have a good one. Episode 1 of season 2 already ready as well, like plotted out and stuff. So we're ready for this. We really have this set up, and this has become kind of a well-oiled machine. So even when we say have to get the audio recorded 2 days before we're going to drop on Patreon, we still make it happen.
Yeah. This last one got a little bit hairy, but
well, yeah, and that's partly our fault because I did take a little while on some of them, but also the other half was when you sent it in, the voice actor was like, dude, I'm sick, I don't have a voice. We're like, oh no, we really need it by this date if you can do it. So
yeah, and he's professional enough that he was going to do it last Saturday, but he went to do it and his voice just wasn't right, and you can't have that in a series of chapters. You know, at some point, as like we talked about putting it in a book, we like to put it up on Audible, and for all of a sudden this nasally voice to be a chapter doesn't really fly. So he promised it by Monday, and I arranged my schedule in such a way that I could jump on it as soon as I got the audio, and we made it work.
Michael Wagner said hi. That's cool to have his support. Kyron did ask another one. He said, what made you want to write a time travel story? I'm going to throw this one at you first because this really came from your idea.
Yeah, so I've been interested in history. I think I don't know if that happens to a lot of people as they get older, but I know it definitely did for me. I was part of the Chicago Historical Society for a while, and I love history, and I've always, everybody in our genre loves Back to the Future. That's a given. So there's for the first time in my life, I'm going to blank on the name of the movie. Somewhere in Time. It's a movie that I frequently talk about with Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeves, which is basically right around his Superman days. That movie, I loved that movie. It was funny because it was like a Saturday night main event. Me and my dad were watching wrestling, and I was allowed to stay up late for that. I don't think it was a usual thing, but that night I was allowed to stay up late. We had pizza, we watched wrestling, and then as that ended, like on our Channel 9, I think in Chicago, the Somewhere in Time movie came on, and me and my dad were drawn to it. And it's a time travel drama. There's not a ton of action. There's a little bit. It wasn't really the kind of movie that either one of us would necessarily be too into, but we absolutely loved that movie. And so fast forward to, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years ago or something, I started to write a story that kind of was in that vein about the Columbian Exposition World's Fair in 1893. And that I have it was a comic that I was working on, and I have a couple pages done from that. But then that eventually transitioned into this idea of Essence House. So yeah. I don't remember what the question was, but I think maybe I answered it.
The question was, what made you want to write a time travel story?
Yeah, plagiarism mostly then. No, that story is nothing like that one, really. It just was definitely inspired initially. That kicked off by that.
For me, nothing. I didn't want to write it. I've never been excited to write time travel stories because to me, it's always the answer always is the bad guy always is, because we time travel. You know what I mean? And I hated that idea. I didn't want to do that, and I don't think we did it here. Obviously, that kind of stuff will happen because you time traveled, stupid crap happened. But that's not our main MacGuffin, so to speak. I was just excited by the general idea, and honestly, just kind of working with Eric. We had worked together on Dulce, and he and I had become good friends. And I was like, you know what? I want to try something new. He has this idea. Let's see what we can do with it. And I like the drama, the family drama aspect of it, which really kind of excited me. The idea of being able to kind of make the family the center point, and the time travel stuff kind of working around them. If we're talking about favorite time travel stuff, for me, it's Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
To me, T2, and then the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV show. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, that was great.
That, to me, I'm going to piss off some people, but I think that was a more heartbreaking shutdown even than Firefly. Because to me, there was so much cool stuff that they were doing. And there was these beautiful moments. I think one of the most beautiful moments of that series, spoiler alert from like 10 years ago, get over it, is it's John Connor's birthday. He's having a really rough time, and his mom's a psychopath, and everyone around him is kind of crazy, and so he ends up kind of just having a really rough day. And yeah, Kyron says blasphemy. Yeah, you can say what you want. So he his uncle, who basically is like his father's obviously his father's brother, who's come back in time to be with them. He takes him out to the park, and they're out in the park, and they're just sitting on a bench talking and stuff. And the uncle starts talking. I think his name was Derek or something. He starts talking about how the good old days, before the war and before the machines and all that kind of stuff, how him and his brother would come to this exact park and they would play ball. And then you look over and you see the two kids playing baseball and playing catch together. And that's when John realized he was watching his dad as a kid play baseball and started crying. And I was like, yeah, man, see, that's the stuff that time travel doesn't play with. You miss those cool moments. And I feel like Essence House has so much of that. We have so many of those amazing emotional moments. There was this thing that episode 6, the sit down that Tim had with a family member, and he just had this moment where it was just like, it was so heartbreaking because there was something that he was missing out on, and it was a really beautiful moment, and I loved it. And there's just more of that to kind of come. And so yeah, I just really thought that was really cool, and have enjoyed that aspect of playing with time travel an awful lot.
Yeah, there's more to time travel than hijinks and horny plot twists.
Yeah. Kyron said the moment he liked was Tristan and the phone call.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. That was one where that was one of those moments where I screwed with Eric a little bit, and I'm like, I'm gonna write this. I wrote it, and I sent it to him, and he was like, holy crap, yeah, okay, cool, run with it.
There's some chills there.
So yeah, man, there's a lot of really cool stuff we're playing with. How much time is it right now, as far as the actual broadcasts, even episode?
They're all roughly 20 minutes. Usually a couple minutes more than that. This last one was 2 minutes less than that.
Yep.
So we got 6 of them right now. So we're probably just over 2 hours in total content.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool, man. When you think about that, each episode by themselves, that's your drive to work. But the 2-hour thing, man, if you're making those long drives to conventions, or you've got some time where, I've been trying to tell our artist friends, guys, if you're sitting down doing art, this is a great thing to have in the background and enjoy and listen to as you go, So yeah, there's a lot of neat things that you can do with it and neat ways that you can enjoy it.
And like we said earlier, like while we would love, some support on Patreon, the show is accessible for free on Apple, on Spotify, on Google devices. You can literally tell Google Home, "Hey Google Home, play Essence House." Yeah. Hey Alexa, play Essence House, and it just pops on the latest episode. We're on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, like pretty much everybody. We have a YouTube channel.
Yep. My mom has been nuts with it. I think I was telling you about this, where she she listened to episode 1, and then she listened to it again to make sure she didn't miss anything. Then she listened to episode 2, and then she went, wait. And then she went back and listened to episode 1 again, so that she felt like she was always getting everything. So there's even some moments where we brought up some stuff. I know we were having a conversation with Jess the other day, because basically we've started doing this little fun thing where we record the after house or the after show, and we make sure she has no knowledge outside of what all the patrons would have. So they have the new episode. And then once that after show is done, we're like, hey, you want to sit back and listen to the next episode? Yes, I do. And so we'll listen to that, and she'll like, oh my gosh, holy crap. So she gets it about a week before the patrons, which she more than deserves.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one thing where I explained it to her, and she was like, oh crap, now I have to go all the way back to episode 1 and listen again. I'm like, yeah, and that's the fun thing about it, is that the replay value on it is huge, because what you enjoy and then what you see above and beyond is even more, there's just so much to it.
Yeah. So like the ending of the latest episode 6 that dropped today, ends on a note where if you go back to episode 1, it answers a mystery there. And if you pop into episode 4,
yep,
there it clears up something.
Yeah.
So like we've kind of peppered these things throughout. There's something that Chuck did in number 7 that answers something from number 4 that was actually that was maybe my number 1 favorite thing that you threw in that I was not expecting. But since nobody's heard that one, I couldn't really talk about that one. But I think that that was one thing that I think, as far as questions on our show from patrons, that was one thing that was noted by a lot of people, like that scene. Like there was some theories about what that was. And it was fun the way you were able to bring it around and answer that. I think it was very satisfactory. I think that there's gonna be a handful of people out there that are gonna be listening and be like, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah, no, and I mean that just goes back to the fact that we're getting to play off each other, and it's been a lot of fun. And even when we mapped out the next episodes, because we now have like 8, 9, 10, like I said, 8, 9, 10, and even onto the next season, kind of mapped out. I know that there's going to be things where we really drop on it. I think what I'm most excited about is episode 10. We know what's going on, but neither of us have stepped up yet to say I'm writing that one. And I don't even know. Like, I'm not sure. I want to write it, but I don't. And I feel like that one might be one of. What's that?
There's a lot of pressure there.
Right? I feel like that's one of the ones where we're probably going to write bits and pieces of it. We did that with episode 1, and I think a couple of the other ones, the first like 2 or 3, and then after that we just started like, okay, I got this one, and then of course the other guy comes in, and if he has anything to add or change, that happens. But I feel like episode 10 might be the next time where we're like, okay, well, this is how I've started it. What do you want to do? Oh, okay, cool. I'll play now, and that one might get tossed around a little bit more, and it might be longer. I can imagine it being a little longer too.
Thinking that might be fun to have that one be like a
double size.
Yeah, like an extended episode, because that would be fun too, because people kind of expect around that 20-minute mark that it's about to end, and then it's like get to 20 minutes and you're like, it didn't end.
My wife is
number, but
my wife is great for that, because she'll sit and she'll listen, and then she'll get to the 20-minute mark and she'll be like, I know you're about to end any minute now. And Eric has started doing this thing where when we're on the last sentence and the last sentence is being said, he'll start the closing music, so you're not getting anything else today, man. It's done. I love that.
That's a really fun tease.
Yeah, I imagine hearts sinking, and actually, I think it was it episode 5 you did that for the first time?
Yeah,
it was, and that was, and I remember Wendy hearing that and being like, really, like, really?
Well, cliffhangers are so fun because, again, coming from the comics community, like I put out, Blister every year or so. Dulce came out once a year the last couple of years. So like putting a cliffhanger in something like that is really rough because there's a long wait for the viewer.
Yep.
With this, we can put out a cliffhanger and it's devastating for a couple weeks, but you get the answers like in a couple weeks, and so it's fun to have that quick follow up.
My cousin said to me, he goes, "Oh man, you got me on another cliffhanger." I'm like, "You could pay $2 and learn about it right now. Like, it's that easy, man."
Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, if I was right now, I would want to check out if I got number 5 for free. And I know that there's plenty of reasons why somebody can't do that. That's fine. But yeah, it's for $2 I'd be all on board for sure.
Yeah, same here. It's almost like to me it kind of reminds me of like when you're playing like Angry Birds or something like that, and then it's like, do you want extra lives? You can pay. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, fine. I'll get the extra add-ons. So yeah, it's kind of like a microtransaction where you're like, you don't have to be sad for long.
And I mean, the after show has spanned anywhere from, well, the 1 week 2 of us were sick, so it went like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's gone anywhere from a half hour to an hour long. So I mean, that's an extra potentially 2 hours of content like every. So I think that we definitely put out more than $2 worth of.
Yeah, I think we've worked really hard to make it totally worth the money that's there. Something that people can really enjoy. And then we're also going to be trying to do these live shows just to get people excited, and hopefully so we can get some more people checking out the show and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Crickets?
Yep. I agree that we will be doing that.
Yeah. That is something that we shall do. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about? As my dog yawns because he's bored. Lay down, you bastard.
Are you not entertaining your dog?
I know, right? Lay down.
No, I think we we've had some good conversation about the show. Some good questions. Anybody else got any questions?
We'll give you another 2 minutes.
Yep.
If anyone has any questions.
Yeah, and again, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, YouTube, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Buzzsprout, TuneIn, Pocket Casts, iHeartRadio, and our Patreon page. And our website is essencehousestory.com. At some point, maybe we'll end up doing more on the website. Right now, it hosts our page, our podcast, and there's some bios about us. But I imagine, at the moment, I've thought about things like a wiki would be fun because there's so much to track. But for a while, we had everything was a mystery, so there wasn't much we could.
Right.
There, but
Maybe that's something we can consider for the mid season. But my worry with a wiki always is that it it might actually end up spoiling people.
yeah,
So
that
that's
is
the other part of it.
that is a problem. Like I'll listen to some Star Wars stuff now and then, and somebody might mention somebody, and I'll pop online and go to like the Wikipedia, and I'll pull up an article about some obscure character because I'm like, where's that character from? Next thing I know where they were born, where they died, and so it's like, well, I guess I don't need to read that story.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I didn't even see that one yet. Good for me.
But you know what? Some articles and insight might be fun, especially when it comes to time travel. I mean, like we during our time travel, we've ended up in a record store. So talking about record stores in the '90s, like I could write about that for days. Um, uh, we had the Columbian Exposition. I could write about that for days.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever tell you I collect stuff from that fair.
No.
I'll have to show sometime. I have a display case in my bedroom
Really?
of like there's some books from the event. There's some
Like pamphlets and stuff?
and like a guidebook that you would buy. I have a ticket from one of the days. I have a souvenir brick from it.
Holy crap, dude! I'm seeing like a whole other level of you that I like never saw before.
Yeah, but like as I got older, I got really into like Chicago history, and yeah, I actually have a beer tap from the fair.
Okay, that's just neat. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, I'll take some pictures sometime.
Right? That's some serious man cave shit going on right there.
And a shot glass, obviously.
You have a shot glass from there too?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they really had shot glasses back then. Oh yeah, of course they would have. They did in like the Wild West and whatnot.
Yeah. So.
That's so cool. But that's been something fun too, is that we've been able to bring in a lot of stuff that we like and know and have enjoyed. With episode, was it 5? Yeah, episode 3. I got to play with like a bunch of the 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Because Tristan didn't know how to time travel, so he basically tried to suit himself up like someone who would look like they're from the 90s. And so I did probably more research for that episode than I've researched for almost any other episode, except for maybe episode 5, where I had to look up restaurants that were around in the 90s and are still around now, which, by the way, are few and far between.
It's a rough business.
Uh-huh. I even was like, what about Hard Rock Cafe? No. No. Yeah, no, that was tough, man. But I mean, obviously we pulled it off. The research has probably been one of the funner parts of it that we don't talk about very often.
Yeah, and even though I've read several books about the 1893 World's Fair, and I have a collection of stuff, I still found myself spending at least a couple hours taking notes on different things and looking up very specific details and stuff. That
the Ferris wheel thing blew my mind. I was like, "What? Really? That's the first time there was ever a Ferris wheel?" Like,
yeah.
Then you were talking about the creator, and
when you drive down to St. Louis, you pass Jacksonville or Jackson. I want to say Jackson, Illinois, but
Jackson.
Yeah, they have a big sign out there. The first Ferris wheel was there because like he had built some stuff, but that was like the first like official like real. Obviously, it wasn't the first one he ever built because who the hell would want to put that up in the middle of a fair for mass consumption? But yeah, like so he's like right from Illinois, South Illinois, George Ferris.
That's cool.
But yeah, that was a fun little note. The note that I made about the Dahomey tribe being captured, and that's true. There was some people noted that there was fewer of the cannibals as time went by. The fair lasted like over a year, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a week-long thing or something.
No, it was. Did it go through the winter? I don't know. It was during the summer, but there was like an opening the 1 year because it was supposed to be commemorating Columbus's voyage, 400 years, but they weren't ready to open, so they actually postponed it like basically a year. So they did like a grand opening. There were some events. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Which is so funny because you couldn't create something like that now. Like you just couldn't.
No way.
Couldn't do it. Especially not about Columbus Day.
Right. That's a touchy subject.
I believe we would call that the colonizer fair now. Is that what we would call it?
I suppose so.
But yeah, man. So that's I don't have any other questions, but we would love for you guys to come out, check out Essence House. It is free. This, we would love for you to jump on the Patreon and enjoy all of the cool extra stuff that we have. But we get money's tight. We get the world. We understand that. We just want to get our story out to as many people as possible.
Yeah,
so
subscribe to as many platforms as you could. I mean, obviously, if you subscribe on one, that's awesome for us. I would rather come out of this with, 20 new subscribers on platforms than even coming out with 2 patrons. Like I want more people to hear the story. I want people to talk about the story.
Yeah.
Recommend the stories.
Yeah. The sharing is a big deal. Is sharing and saying, "Hey, man, you should check out this podcast. I think you'd really enjoy it." I would kind of, it's got its sort of sci-fi-ish bent, but it's not really like we don't really focus on the science. It's more of a drama than anything else. So,
yeah, I guess as far as sci-fi goes, I would think more kind of like how sci-fi and sci-fantasy like separate Star Trek and Star Wars. Like this would be definitely more on the science fantasy side.
Yeah.
Although some of the wildest stuff that we've talked about, I've heard astrophysicists talk about being possible.
Yeah, and that was neat. You sending me that Neil deGrasse Titan video. Yeah. I'm like, hey, it looks like we're doing something right. I'm like, oh, damn, we didn't even try.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I mean, I listen to a lot of stuff like that too, like as it goes. So I guess that sort of stuff, I don't know. Maybe it's subliminal. Just sinks in.
Well, and of course, you have kind of a background in that with your own show, Strange Tales Weekly.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. And you guys talk about all sorts. You guys are, to me, because I do enjoy, like, I won't watch every episode, but if something pops up and they're like, hey, we got this new one, I'm like, oh, that's something cool. I'll check that out. So you guys do everything. Like, to me, you're like, oh my gosh, what was that amazing 80s and 90s
Unsolved Mysteries?
What is it?
Unsolved Mysteries?
Unsolved Mysteries. Because it's just everything from the everyday to the totally crazy.
Yeah, all three of us were very influenced by that with Robert Stack. Like that was the jam. What did you think? So while we're talking about the show, did you watch the John Constantine one?
I did.
What did you think about that?
I thought that was really cool. It was either like, all these creators are insane, or something really cool is going on here. I don't know what that is. It's kind of the same with the whole Superman thing. The idea that that Superman was created because I think it's I don't remember if it was Schuster or Siegel, but his father was killed by an assassin, or he was murdered, and so he wanted to make someone who was bulletproof. And just kind of the stuff that went on with that and whatnot. I just thought that was really cool. So, yeah, I really love that story. That was a really neat one. You've had some time travel ones on there. You've had, like, some deep state CIA stuff happen, like ghost stories. I mean, like, a little bit of everything. Aliens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We've been doing that for over a year now.
Aren't you guys closer to 2 years now?
About a year and a half. We started, like, October of the year before last.
So,
or maybe November even.
so you were like, "Hey, let's do Strange Tales." Oh yeah, Chuck, why don't we write a novel at the same time? This dude, people,
What I do.
he's gonna kill himself. Like I have to, I really have to push to make this happen, and find a stopping point for it, because I'm afraid his heart is gonna burst, and then I'm gonna have to finish the damn thing.
Yeah, I need to watch myself. I involve myself way too much.
I get it. I've taken on a little more than I could chew from time to time as well. I actually had someone come on the chat, and he goes, "Hey, dude, you should be editing my damn book." I'm like,
Oh,
"Yeah, look at me not working over here."
you are definitely working right now, though.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Everybody, I mean, he's joking. John's an awesome dude, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You and I are almost always trying to get some stuff done. It's just, there's so much to do.
So like the way we work together on this show, I do a lot of the production. You've done a lot of the promotion, and it's really hard to like stop and work. Like this is the first time we've been able to do a Facebook Live. We've been talking about it for weeks.
Yeah.
And you've done them on your own, but like this is the first time I've been able to sit down and actually join you on one.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, and so that's because the stuff that you do with the production, I can't do. Like the sound effects guys, that's all him splicing everything together. Like it's so cool. And we've had many people say, "Man, we really love that aspect of it." I can't do that. I just write it. And so I'm like, what can I do to hold up my end? So I took on the marketing and the promotion as much as possible, just so that I could feel like it's not Eric, like it's not all on his shoulders. So I think we both. Pardon?
I don't feel like that at all. I think.
Oh, good. Well,
I think.
so I can stop. But no, like it's just, you always want to feel like especially when it's something like this where I think we're making something really cool. I'm really excited about it, and I get to fan out. The only times I get to fan out is when you write it. And so, I write something just trying to leave enough stuff open that it's like, okay, cool. What are you going to do with that, buddy? And then he writes a chapter and I'm like, oh, damn, look at that. That's so awesome. So we do kind of get to fanboy about it a little bit just because we don't know what the other dude's completely going to do. We basically know how it's going to end and the main points.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been able to experience that working on my own project in a big way. Like with Blister, a lot of that is based on sometimes actual events, some kind of actual experiences. So I experienced those and I'm putting them out there. It's not autobiographical by any means, but it's not really a book that I even think about. It's something I would want to read if I didn't write it, but
yeah.
I don't really think about it that way. When I started doing Dulce, I kind of got jealous of the readers. Like me and Gene would we work together. We work together much like you and me do, but it's on one product, so it's not like this week to week thing, and it's not it's ongoing, but once a year or whatever. So
yeah.
It's like this is the first time I've been able to experience that sort of thing where the thing that I'm making, I get to view and maybe not know what's going on until I read part of it, and that's been pretty fun. That's been really fun.
It's funny because there's one of the things I've always wanted to do, as much as I love comics and everything that we're doing, the idea of writing a TV show, like a serial TV show, has always excited the crap out of me. And one of the, some of the biggest influences to me have been particular serialized TV shows, just because I love the idea of the hook and the cliffhanger, and you can feel the different elements of it if you're interested in more than just watching it.
Yeah.
And so being able to finally create that stuff and you write stuff and you're able to say in your own head, I'm doing this so that, it does this to the reader that propels us in this direction. And like, there's a science to it, but there's also there's a fun to it, like a fun factor. And I have like, one of the funnest things is those cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Like, just, you're like, oh, this is how I'm going to screw them.
I think in the way of talking about it in the way of a TV show, like that's the way I envisioned it at the start. And even thinking that in the future, maybe we bring on a third writer to throw in some ideas into the mix and work together, and even expand a team at some point. Probably not something I should bring up on Facebook Live though, so I won't.
Well, and I mean, that's all just in the future. We don't know what the hell we're gonna do. Yeah. That actually, it kind of depends on you guys. The bigger it gets, the more we can play with it. And if not, I mean, at the absolute worst, this isn't something that we're just gonna drop. So just so all of you are aware, the plan for us, if things go, just it doesn't really get picked up, the audience stays small, all that kind of stuff, we have a hard ending planned for the end of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would then just record all the way through to the end of season 2. We would drop that hard ending, still leaving some little things open to discover and play with later on. But we would drop that hard ending, turn it into a novel, and we would have, the audiobook and all that. And then we would have finished products that we could then send off and do stuff with. So no matter what, it's never just going to die. And whenever you pick up a comic series or something like that, you're worried that it's just going to end and be done and you can't do anything else with. I can tell you that the cool thing about this is that will not happen. Yeah,
I think too, we both have a strong want to have a very satisfactory ending. Not that anybody doesn't want a satisfactory ending, but I think that the one, we haven't talked about it at all, but I think that the one thing that we both loved and relate, I think, some of our thoughts on this whole project to is Lost.
Yeah.
Which, in the end, I didn't hate the ending. There is some issues with it, obviously. There always will be. Nobody's ever going to love, not everybody's never going to love, something. Some things like Game of Thrones everybody hates, but there are, we have a lot of threads out there, but we're going to wrap them up, and it's going to make sense. And I think that I think it'll be a satisfactory experience from start to finish.
Yeah, and I think people can already see it kind of coming together, everything sort of coalescing and building into something. I think episode 7 is really going to be that one where you're like, okay, I kind of get it. I see that, sort of a light that we're aiming towards, and I think that'll be a big moment for everybody where they finally get to go. So in 2 weeks for your Patreon users, you'll get to listen to episode 7, and you'll get that moment of clarity of, oh, okay, I see where this is going, or at least that it is definitely going somewhere. We're not just having things happening randomly. It all is building towards something.
Well, we should wrap this up, but I think also, we've had a lot of mysteries out there in the story that we've resolved. So I think that hopefully gains us some trust from listeners.
Yeah. And that was one thing, I remember in episode 3, there was a couple things that we wrapped up just so we could say, look, we're not going to string you along the whole time.
Yeah.
We will. And I think that's been the neat thing is that with every new episode that's basically come after 3, it's been like, here's some new questions, but here's some answers. And we would always try to pepper in both into pretty much every episode, I would say.
Yeah, I want to say we probably have had something in every episode.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with us. We would love for you guys to come check out Essence House. Have a good time. Tell us what you think. If you're not a fan, or if there's stuff that you would love to see or whatever, let us know, man. We're really interested and excited. I remember I was doing some marketing on one of the audio drama groups in Facebook, And I said, hey, man, we would love, what can we do to get some ratings and whatnot? I said, and I'm not asking you to drop 5 stars.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, what can we do to get some people to honestly look at it and rate it how they see it? And, a 3-star would not hurt me. A 2-star I'd have a tough time with. I think we're better than that. But I could handle a 3-star and like I like this, but I'm more of a this kind of person. I'm like, that's fine.
Right.
I have no issue with that.
Yep. So find us at you can search Essence House on Facebook, or check out essencehousestory.com. Search it on all the networks I mentioned before. Apple, Spotify, whoever you get podcasts from. And honestly, if you get your podcast from somebody and we aren't on there, let us know.
Yeah.
Because we will get on there. We appreciate that as well. So thanks, guys.
Take care, everybody.